Tuesday, 12:30, and what a beautiful, beautiful day. Whatever the weather is in your part of the world and wherever you are, I hope you are having a fantastic day and that everything is going really, really well for you, whether it's spring, autumn, summer or winter, wherever you are, and whenever you're watching this, many blessings to you in your day. And welcome to the Mindset Michelle TV show. And this week, we have another incredible, amazing guest. We have the Anna Perdriau. Perdriau. Hello, Anna. After practicing it, I still managed to mix it up a little bit then. Perdriau. But welcome, Anna. That's the most important thing.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Wonderful. For those of you that don't know Anna, she's a speaking stylist, and I'm sure many of you will be wondering, oh, what's a speaking stylist? For many years, though, she's been helping small business owners and service operators and service providers. She's been helping a wide range of people get better at the art of speaking. Now, this is an important art, as I'm sure you're all aware, because you're watching this online and you're seeing that we're presenting online, but as COVID and the life returns to a little bit more normal, we're going to be going back to offline as well. So having those presentation skills and tools is something that will become even more important, and the mindset for it more important as we come out of this global pandemic. But for now, I want to start in this wonderful place of getting to know you and getting to know more of your background and who you are and how you came to be the speaking stylist.
No, thank you, Michelle, and thank you so much for having me. And I love the blue jacket. Love the show, love the jacket. Thank you, Michelle. My name is Anna Perdriau. I am the speaking stylist. It wasn't always that way. My career started out, I had 22 years in the Australian Defence Organisation. So Defence is a unique organisation because you have the Department of Defence, which is the civilian public service, and then you have the Australian Defence Force. And I was part of the civilian public service. And the public servants are there to support the ADF, the Australian Defence Force. And that was my career for 22 years. And I started at the bottom, worked my way up, and I was excited to get involved in the large defence projects and to become a project director. Ultimately, it was my dream. I worked on it for many years, and ultimately I achieved that, and I was responsible for managing a $1 billion program. But the journey to get there, to learn all about the project management and procurement and contract management, was a long journey. And I had to deliver a lot of presentations, as you can imagine. And I had to sit through a lot of presentations as well. And the style of presentations that we did and that I did, well, they were kind of, let's say, a little bit boring. And I'm not being a hater. It was just the style of presentation we did. And I think it was because as a project manager, as the project director, I had to deliver presentations to a lot of committees. And they would fire questions at you. And you, as the PM or the PD, had to basically think on your feet, had to be prepared, and had to answer questions. And you never knew what was going to come along. So I would spend nights lying awake thinking, what are they going to ask me? And will I be that project that gets in trouble on the day kind of thing? And it was a little bit traumatic. So for me, I realized that I wanted to become a better presenter. I wanted to be better at public speaking and learn how to deal with everything that goes along with it, the nerves, the mindset, and all of those things. So I just set off on a journey to find out more and to improve myself. And that was the start of a long journey for me. And I just threw myself into every public speaking thing that I could find. And I eventually went overseas and went to boot camps and conventions and all kinds of things. And I was obsessed. And then one year I went and I saw John Maxwell speak in Florida in the USA. And he spoke about finding the purpose of your life. And that speech really changed me. I realized that that was a moment in time when I said, this is what I want to do. I love helping people and I love public speaking. And so I took the steps to actually resign from my career. And everyone said, you are crazy. Why would you do that? But ultimately, that's what my heart wanted to do. So I followed my heart and my passion. And then now, 7 years later, I am running my business, Speaking Excellence, as the speaking stylist. And I love helping business owners, entrepreneurs, professionals with their presentations, and also for pronunciation where English is not their first language. So I'm obsessed. What can I say?
and sometimes when English is the first language, you can still get the Perdriau wrong of people's names. And
Absolutely. But I have to applaud you, Michele. You are absolutely amazing. Your preparation is just, I've never seen anything like it. So you are just amazing, and well done for you.
Thank you, Anna. So I'm fascinated because there'll be a lot of people that have been hearing about the Great Resignation at the moment. And
yes.
So I think that this is a wonderful thread about your story, that you spent so long in what I imagine was a very male-dominated area, in project management and defence and government at those senior levels, and still managed to thrive and grow and progress in your career. But you also then answered, I guess, the call of your heart that was saying there's more to what I want to do in my life than this. And I think that that's a wonderful thread to be sharing at this time when everybody's talking about this Great Resignation and people after COVID looking for something more meaningful than what they're perhaps doing in their current role. And I love how you described how you took your time, you knew you wanted to change and you wanted to move. So you did the training, you became passionate and sought out that training. I guess all of this is leading to, if people are watching and wondering, well, you got to the top of the tree and then sort of went, well, this isn't the tree I want to be on anymore. I'm going to change trees or change forests. Defence and project management's kind of a different orchard to public speaking and professional speaking.
Yeah.
But they'd be fascinated by, with that skill set and developing a new skill set, what do you then think success means to you and to your life?
Oh, that is a fantastic question. And I agree, the great quit or the great resignation it's a moment in time, isn't it? It really is a shift in what's happening. People have had enough. They want to find the thing that really lights them up. And for me, I think that success is finding that thing. And that comes down to our self-awareness. For me, I had to really do a lot of work. It wasn't just training in a skill set. It was going inside and doing a lot of personal development and really questioning who I was, because we develop these patterns over time in our behavior, and something that might get you success in a particular area might work in that context. But then it's a set of behaviors. And, a set of emotions goes with those behaviors. So in a way, I had to unlearn a lot of things and then find out who I really was and find out what excited me. And for me, it's just self-awareness is absolutely key.
And also, I completely agree. And that's how in my journey, I came to be focused so much on the mindset. But my own studies and work have been around transformation in the corporate sense, but personal and professional awareness in the private development sense. Yeah. And I hear that, especially for speakers who you work with, and for them to get past all those nerves and to find that authenticity takes very much having that personal own awareness.
Absolutely. And here's the thing, sometimes when we go to do that presentation, or we feel like we can't be ourselves, or we think we can, we think we're perfectly confident, and then you get in front of that audience and you just become a different person. And that was certainly my experience some years ago. I couldn't have a personality. I became podium woman, it was like personality removed. So I think it really is getting into that mindset about who you are And the thing that I work with people as the speaking stylist is, what is your speaking style? And it really is, who are you as a person? What are the things that make you unique? The top 3 things. What is that personality and that character that you bring that nobody else can? And that's the beauty of a speaking style.
And I love this, because whenever you say stylist, I think of like a clothing stylist or a personal stylist, and hair and makeup, all of that. So I really love that. Yeah, all of that analogy of what you're describing, because I think it's really important for speaking to be so authentic and to come from your own personal style. And so people watching and wondering, well, how can I come from my own personal style? What sort of tips or hints would you give and suggest for them to find their own personal style?
Well, it's simply about saying, who am I? What am I known for? What are the words that really describe me, that really feel good for me? And that other people, it's not only about what other people see in me, but that resonates not only with them, but with me as well. So, some people are entertaining. They're funny. Some people are more analytical. They have an eye for detail. But when I focus on 3 words, it's 3 different words. It's kind of like a triangle that, the 3 points of a triangle that show the depth of the person altogether. They're not the same type of word. So it kind of sounded.
I keep thinking you must have got the triangle from project management, because in project management, it's price, time, and quality. So in speaking, I just imagine, price, time, and quality in speaking.
Yeah. Well, and the rule of 3s is we see that a lot in speaking. We see it in comedy as well. And you can't fail with the rule of 3s.
Exactly. And I so agree about finding what works for you. I did some courses in stand-up comedy at NIDA.
Yeah.
And I was around people that were so naturally hilarious. And I realised that it was their personality, and whether they went to NIDA or not, they were just always going to be funny.
Yeah.
But for people like me, it was, learning about the rule of 3s and the other comedy tools, if you like. So I really like that as your first suggestion, looking for who you are and not comparing yourself to somebody else, but being okay that you're more analytical, or you're more quiet, or you're more whatever you are. But that's the starting point. But you can, like I'm sharing, I learned some of the tools that funny people use, whether they know it or not, so that I can use that similar rule of 3 as well.
Exactly. We can be funny too. Even if it's just a little bit.
And so what else, the rule of 3 and being yourself, what other tips would you suggest to people to be, I was going to say funnier, but be more themselves?
That's about as funny. That's about where my funny humour stops. But here's the beauty of when you do have that speaking style, it brings you closer to the audience, because they can feel that you're being yourself. And, that's what they love. And that's when you think of the podium, when I think of, how I used to be podium woman, there was a podium there was a barrier between me and the audience. And once you remove that resistance, so we all have resistance to various things in life, and removing the resistance, it brings you closer to your audience. So whatever that resistance is, and it's usually, we've got some limiting beliefs buried away, as you well know, through your mindset work. And these things, they absolutely come up for us when we stand in front of an audience, and all of a sudden it comes up and hits us.
That internal self-talk that you're describing there is fascinating. When we work with clients, it's amazing how you really have to unpack that to help them understand that the clients that they're working with, or the people in their teams, they aren't having that same self-talk. They're thinking about who's going to win the Melbourne Cup this afternoon, or things like that. They're not actually sitting there thinking, gee, podium woman sucks or whatever. That they've already escaped somewhere else in their mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's just it. The audiences now, especially on Zoom, they have other options. They have other options. So unless you're engaging as a presenter, and unless you accept that you are the chief energizer, that you are there to engage them, they have plenty of other options to be distracted. So, it's all there.
That's a really interesting point, because it came up with the social media activity this morning as well, around how much of speaking or presenting is around entertaining.
Right.
So what sort of tips would you give for people that are perhaps a bit more introvert and not naturally, engaging or entertaining? Because I think people that are a bit more extrovert and engage and entertain is just who they are, would obviously find it easier to speak and, even laugh at themselves if they get it wrong. But for more introverted people, what sort of tips would you give them?
I thought you were going to ask me for more humour tips there.
I'm just going to keep counting to 3.
Keep going back to that. So for introverts, I think that introverts have a wonderful ability to engage the audience, because they care about what the audience is thinking, is feeling, and interacting with the audience, and accepting that it is a dialogue. A presentation is a dialogue with your audience. If it's simply you giving them information, that's a one-way pouring out of information, and that's how it used to kind of be done. But now, having that dialogue with the audience, so asking them, interacting with them, is a way that they can tap in and find out what's going on with the audience. Now, it does take confidence, but that's not to say that, introverts can be confident, and they love that, because it's preparing, it's planning, and having that success and engaging the audience. The audience loves to be engaged because they feel part of it, and they feel like this is about me. It's not just about a person who's talking at me. Talking head is dead, as they said in the States.
Exactly. I couldn't agree more. We've really moved into what I think you're describing, and what I think of as being the experiential age. So even presentations and a boring kind of defence, we brought 10 ships, 10 tanks and 10 bottles of wine or something. There was me trying to use 3.
And that is all of a sudden I'm interested.
I can't say what I would normally say because it's a public PGA broadcast. But using that rule of 3 and then saying, should we buy more wine, more tanks or more aircraft, is part of that engaging with the audience. Very different to where it would have just been reporting to the audience before.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. It is a dialogue. And the thing about the dialogue is what is happening in the audience in their own mind. So not only do you have, it's not an audience like a mob. It's not a mob of kangaroos. It's individuals in your audience who are all experiencing and interacting with your content in their own unique way. So you've also got that. And leveraging what is happening in the audience is really fascinating as well, because you can have, everybody has a creative mind. So tapping into that, that's very powerful.
It is. And so how much of people's stories do you try to incorporate when you're tapping into that creative mind? I know when we've been working and doing presentations, that having that audience engagement, so that they're either working with people on their tables or making notes themselves of what they're going to take away and action after the event. But it's all in some way tapping into their story of where they're at that point in time. So what else do you think are great ways of doing that?
No, stories are absolutely amazing, engaging. It's one of the key ways to engage with your audience, isn't it? Because it makes the information interesting. Who doesn't love listening to a story? We loved it when we were kids and we still love it today. So
and I love some of the stories I've heard from like Daniel Pink and other great speakers who have really crafted, and I don't know how many times they've told their story, but they've obviously told it a number of times over a number of years and then crafted it into that whole
polishing the
hero's journey.
Yeah.
They've really got that hero's journey so
Absolutely.
that people hear the good times and the bad times. And
Yeah. You know what? We all have those stories. I mean, we all have those everyday stories that we might think are nothing special. We, you know, like I don't have a rags to riches story myself. Some people have that. But even if you don't have that, there are everyday things that happen. And I think Jeannie Robertson, who sadly recently passed away, I mean, she was the ultimate storyteller, and from our professional speaking family, who, you know, she had millions of followers and she told stories that just connected with people because they were so relatable. And that's the thing about the story, is the touching the heart of the audience.
It is. And going back to that great point you made about being in tune with your audience and engaging their creativity, I think that that's a great way. And people might not even realise it, but at the beginning, when somebody is saying, you know, put up your hand if you're from Australia, if you're from Sydney, if you're from Melbourne, what they're doing is they're starting to get you engaged in the presentation and getting engaged as you're part of their story by sharing the story of where you come from and how you've got to the event for that day.
Yeah. And that's a great way of engaging. And I think like sometimes people do ask questions to the audience, but then they don't do anything with the with the answer. They sort of say, "I'll put your hand up," and people put their hand up. Oh, that's nice, and then they kind of move on. So you're doing a poll with the audience there, and you're gauging, you're getting feedback from them. They're interacting with you, which is a great thing. It's a really great thing because it can be hard sometimes to engage an audience, to even get them put up their hand, because they might be a little bit nervous thinking, oh, if I put up my hand, that's a little bit scary, depending on what the question is, of course.
I always think it's funny because it's like they're priming the audience as well for that's an easy question, but then they want to be asking harder questions later. I always remember I grew up in Perth in West Australia.
Oh, beautiful.
And it's studying over there. And we have a river, Swan River, that runs through the middle of the city. Yeah. So my early experience of those questions was people saying who's from south of the river and who's from north of the river. There was no real difference, but it was like this, you know, us and them that they were trying to create in that room of, you know, people from north of the river have bigger noses and, you know, people from south have bigger ears or something really silly like that was obviously so completely untrue, but it created that whole, oh, you know, you're not with me because you're from north or south.
Yeah. That competitive thing. Hey, Michelle, you told me you weren't funny, girl.
I'm not. It has its moments, though. The rule of three is kind of keep going through my head, as well as Perdriau keeps going through my head as well. I think if I just keep saying your surname and I'll just keep laughing.
Fine with me.
So a lot of what we've talked about has again been in person, but I guess online, besides the obvious, go to Michele and Anna for how to be funny online. What else would you say to people as a speaking stylist that could help them to be more natural and more storytelling while they're online?
Yeah, thanks for that. I mean, the first thing is to manage your energy when you're online, because unlike when we're live in the room where we might have a big stage or a speaking area and we can walk amongst the audience even, here we're dealing with a little box, or a limited speaking area. And I think that one of the things to manage your energy, because remember that you are the energizer, and the technology can take away from that a little bit. So to be more engaging is to, I always say, stand instead of, don't sit in a chair because you're crunching down. You know, people are sitting there. You look at the audience on the Zoom calls and you see people, you know, slouched in their chairs. And, your diaphragm is crunched down. And of course, you want that for the breathing. So standing up is a good thing for your posture. And you can use your hands, you can gesture, you move more freely. And, you can speak more clearly if you're doing that.
So I think that's a great tip, standing up when you're presenting or when you're in any kind of situation where you need to have more of your energy present.
Yeah.
And they used to say this for women, but I think it can work with online as well, because women tend to be smaller in frame than a lot of men. So if you're in a meeting like your days back in defence, where you're in a room full of
right up close,
bigger men, right up close, because you're an attractive lady in the room. But to be heard when and taken seriously, like if you're in a room.
Yeah.
So women get taught, you can't see it properly, but
oh yes,
our hands and our hips. It's an old animal trick. It's like a cat hissing its back up and making its body shape and size bigger.
Yeah.
You could do that when Anna's sharing about when you're standing up to present, you could actually put your hands on your hips, and as you do that, you naturally would plant both feet solidly on the ground.
Yes.
And that can really help you to come more from that position of power as you're presenting, because your whole body is then aligned with presenting from power.
Absolutely. Yeah. Even though they can't see your feet, you've got that posture happening. And that is good. It's good for grounding yourself as well. Yeah.
It is. I don't think you could stay with it for forever, because then it just looks like you're angry with everybody and you're stomping your feet like,
you get the finger out, the blaming finger. Now listen here.
You start going, I know what you're doing. So that's another great tip. And we've got maybe time for one or two more suggestions. What else would you suggest, Anna?
Look, I mean, I know this is a very simple one, but something that you and I have been doing through this call is simply smile. If you look at the people, even if you're in the audience, this is not just for the people presenting, it's for the people in the audience. When you smile, it's going to release the happy chemicals, the endorphins, the serotonin. It's going to make you feel better, and it'll just put you in that positive frame of mind. And it's nice for the presenter to look out at the sea of faces and see someone who's looking like they're enjoying it.
Who's listening. I mean, you could be smiling because you're thinking about your winning horse for the Melbourne Cup, but the presenter doesn't need to know that. The presenter just sees you smiling. I think that's really important. But part of what we work with people around is being present in each moment. And so
absolutely,
as you're describing, if you're watching somebody and they might not be the best or the whatever presenter, but recognizing that this is another moment out of your life. And so tricking your brain by smiling like, I'm enjoying this, even if you're not, means that you're enjoying more moments of your own life.
Absolutely. And the brain doesn't know the difference. So
it doesn't know. You can trick it with anything.
That little one.
So many fabulous tips and hints about being a better speaker and presenter, Anna. How can people get hold of you if they want to find out more?
I would love to just be contacted, direct message me. My website's undergoing a refab, so please just contact me on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram.
So just to spell that for people listening rather than watching, it's Anna and then Perdriau, Perdriau.
You won the spelling bee as well.
I'm getting all the gold stars today. You can have some back, Anna. And if you were to give some advice to your younger self, what would that advice be?
I would just say love yourself, because no one can do it for you.
Oh, what a wonderful, wonderful way to end what's been another fabulous show. Oh, lots of hearts. I'd love to see somebody do a broken heart one day. Just to see what people's reactions would be if we're speaking. But I digress, sorry.
Body language.
Body languages. Thank you so much for coming on the show today, Anna, and for sharing so many fabulous tips about improving your mindset and your style and your tools around public speaking.
Oh, thank you so much, Michelle. I love what you're doing. You're absolutely fantastic. And I love your little tagline, be great, be fabulous, be you. And
I'm glad I've been indoctrinating everybody with it. Thank you. And there's that rule of 3 again.
There you go. And I'll share mine with you. Let's ban boring and have fun.
Wonderful, wonderful. That's so beautiful. Well, thank you, Anna, and thank you to everybody that's come and watched the show again today. It's been such an incredible show, and we really enjoyed having you. Every week, our intention is to share with the experts like Anna new tools, tips, and techniques that you can use to improve your mindset for success. So until next week, from my heart to your heart, be great, be fabulous, and be you.